Welcome back to Trout Snacks. My name's Ken, and we'll be tying a fly that Lance Egan created. It's called a Tungsten Surveyor, and I'm tying a variant of his fly. He uses a different colored thread and a different colored bead and different tailing materials and a different thorax material. But I'm using the Ultra Thread 70 denier in a wine color. Lance Egan uses a red. And we'll tie this in to about where the barb used to be, because I bent the barb. And this is a size 12 scud hook. You do this on a scud hook, you can do it on the regular standard nip hook. And the bead I'm using is a gold bead head. It's 5/32 or a 4mm. Lance uses a tungsten bead head in a silver color. And we'll go ahead and tie the tail in. I use a slight Pardo Coq de Leon. I grab about 10 to 12 fibers. Lance Egan uses pheasant tail fibers, and he uses 3 or 4 of them. Measure that tail, keep it on top, and put one underneath to splay those tail fibers out. Wrap your thread forward, cut your waist piece Coq de Leon off, and then we'll start building our wedge in here, like I do with all my flies. Especially when you use oversized beads, it just ties in a nice collar around the bead head and the materials. Not only that, but the fish like them short and chunky, especially on the Weber River. And I'm sure the Provo River, I'm sure the browns and rainbows in there don't mind a chunky looking fly. Let's keep building that taper up. Okay, I would call that good. Right there. Take one more around the fibers here, just to make sure they stay nice and splayed out. Now, we'll get some Wapsi rainbow scud and sow dubbing. And I already got a little bit out, but I cut that corner off. If you can see that, that's the Wapsi rainbow dub scud and sow dubbing. It's pretty fine, not real coarse. And Lance Egan uses that same material for the abdomen. You want a nice tight dubbing noodle, probably 2 inches long. Tie that in right at the base there. Tight touching wraps. And then leave about 1/8 of an inch, about the same size thickness as the bead. Do a couple whip finishes right there. Cut that out. And then Lance also uses a silver wire. I use a larger silver wire. And I just wrap it in. I don't tie it in, obviously. Just right at the back. I'll do 3 wraps. Helicopter the back one off. Just take your time, it'll come. It'll break, and we'll do the front one. Okay. Now I'll tie my wine color thread back in. And the reason you use a darker thread underneath, it darkens the fly, because this rainbow dubbing gets kind of transparent when it gets wet. Your silver wire will pop even more, get even more defined. And then now we'll tie in our thorax and see if it slides back in a little bit. Just get your scissors or your needle, pull it to the corner, just pull it out like so. Now Lance uses the hairline, I think it's called hairline, rainbow dub scud and sow material. It's a little thicker and it's darker. It helps them darken up the thorax. And we'll do another 2-inch noodle here, a nice tight noodle. Get it nice and tight all the way up there. If it kind of loosens up a little bit on your dubbing noodle, you can just pull it over the top, kind of pull on it, twist it up, it'll tighten it up. That worked out good. Now we'll just wrap in to get that collar in there. And the reason Lance uses the red, he'll have a red hot spot in there for his collar. And then I'll get my thin loon UV clear finish. We'll scrape some of it off the brush there. And we'll put it about 1 inch on the thread. We'll get whip finisher, do 2 or 3, I usually do 3. Snug that up. We'll cut that out. Get your UV light, and we'll burn that in. It's a size 12 hook, but when you're done tying it, it's pretty much the size of a 14, I would say, as far as the body's concerned. But it allows you to put a bigger bead on and get that nice taper in the body. Okay, now we'll keep it nice and tight. The fish will get it all shaggy with their teeth. Now, another thing I do that's different than Lance is I'll get my woodsy brown marker from Bic, and I'll put a little spot on the back of the thorax, and then I'll put some on top of the bead, just to darken it up and it kind of increases the length of that thorax. So this bead head is not just the head, but it also acts as part of the thorax. See, just on the top there. Now to really make it pop, I'll put my thick looms, clear UV finish, clean off the shaft of the brush there. And we'll put a nice glob on the pen the marker I just put on. And you want it a little thicker right in the middle there, between the materials, between your bead head and your thorax. So it just makes it all pop. Nice, and just magnifies everything. I'll turn it upside down, let it set for a second to kind of even out, and move that clear finish kind of centered over the collar that I tied in with the wine colored thread. Okay, and we'll just burn it in. And the reason I use the coq de Leon on the tail is that it's a tougher fiber, lasts longer. Lance swears by the pheasant tail. They're not quite as strong, but it's more realistic. You only have like three or four fibers in there. Because most mayflies only have like 3 tails. But and he has better luck tying it that way, and you can tie it that way too. Anyway, so there's my Tungsten Surveyor variant, and there's another fly, little sweet chunky morsel of awesomeness. Thanks for watching.